Okay, does everybody hear me? Everybody out there? Okay, good, thanks. Um, about 2 weeks ago, my farm partner and I bought our first milk cow, pretty much Jersey. She's named Sweet Celeste. She gives us the most beautiful 2 gallons or so of grass-fed liquid heaven every single day. Between the 6 adults in our combined households, we take in a lot of milk, cheese, ice cream, butter, you name it, but no way can we handle all of that nutrient-dense milk. So we share our excess bounty with our patrons at a local food exchange every week. Our primary farm product is old-fashioned pork. Last week, we took in a whopping $50 for those healthy dairy foods. Let's see, $50 over 9 months, because she does get a vacation, equals $2,000 gross per year. Now, how does that $2,000 a year translate into a stainless steel architectural monument required to house a milk room, a bottling room, a storage room, a milking parlor, etc., that is currently required by state law in order for me to share those $50 worth of goods with my neighbors in my community? Well, Farmer Brown and many other small farmsteads across the state have the very same problem. The regs are designed by industry, for industry, and who cares if the neighbor's cow doesn't fit the formula? Industry wants them gone away anyway. From our state constitution, all power is inherent in the people. All free governments are founded in their authority and instituted for their benefit. They have, therefore, an unalienable and indefeasible right to institute government, and to alter, reform, or totally change the same when their safety and happiness require it. Some of you may have read about Brooksville recently, about our referendum vote to adopt the local food and community self-governance ordinance. I am very proud to say that we have now joined with 8 other towns spread over 5 counties across the state of Maine. And with only 16 counties, we're closing in on 50%. Today, there are citizens in several more towns organizing to bring this ordinance to their communities in the near future. If you're interested, Carol Quigley, Linda Smithers are here to talk to you today about how that's done and how it can make an improvement in the life in your town. So back to the script. We looked to our Declaration of Independence and our own state constitution to satisfy our desire to assert our unalienable and indefeasible right to alter, reform, or totally change the government when our safety and happiness require it. In its essence, the ordinance removes federal and state regulations from the preparation and exchange of food between like-minded people in our towns. How simple is that? It's our freedom to foodicate, folks. Sound like something else we kind of all know about? Foodication is the freedom to exchange solid and liquid bodies between consenting human beings. In these now 9 towns, every yes vote that was cast, and in many of the towns it was a unanimous yes, it was a vote against federal and state laws regulating the face-to-face private contracts in violation of the Constitution of the United States. Laws that destroy our inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The problem is that we, the citizens, whether we know it or not, have, by our silence over the years, granted permission to the federal government to dictate how we make and exchange food within our state, within our neighborhoods, and even our homes over the last 50 or so years. The U.S. Congress has enacted many laws that are blatant usurpations of our constitutional rights under the 9th and 10th Amendments. The Wholesome Meat Act, 1967, assigned total control of all livestock slaughter and butcher to the USDA, unless it was your pig on your farm for your table. The Wholesome Poultry Act of '68 did the same thing for poultry. Then the Food Safety Modernization Act of 2011, the big kahuna of them all, assigned total control of all aspects of food production to the FDA and the USDA, with the exception of what you raise in your yard solely for your own use. So what we have seen so far in the first rounds of the leafy greens is staggeringly complicated. There's really no hope there. Since 2009, when I kind of got my attention involved in this, every attempt by some of us smaller farmers to discuss scale-appropriate regulations with our Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry begins and ends with a lecture on federal laws, regulations, guidelines, rules, period. Not one brain cell was devoted to what might be best for Maine's farmers, for Maine's citizens, for Maine's food security. No. There is a veritable Berlin Wall of books of federal edict between our smallest scale farmers trapped behind it and our DACF busily engaged in laying on the Fed's bricks. Let's take, for example, the lard I render at home for the luscious, nutritious fats saved from our pigs when slaughtered. It has a pH of 2.5, zero moisture after cooking. This exceeds all requirements for foods prepared under our current cottage kitchen license. So I could just go spend 20 bucks and get one of those licenses, right? Oh no. No, no, no. Why? Because the federal food regs, of course, say I cannot sell my wonderful lard without being a licensed cafe, restaurant, or a full-blown commercial kitchen with an on-site meat inspector while rendering. How much sense does that make? I mean, come on. Because the 100-page Federal Maine Food Code of 2001 says lard is a meat product and subject to all of the USDA requirements for full inspection. Meat is meat, no exemptions. We have a small farm. I have 3 sows and their occasional piglets. I sell our homemade products using my illegal lard only from our farm stand, private exchanges with our patrons. Because our business plan is about staying small and improving the quality of our product, there is no rational way for us to justify the investment required to put a meat inspector in a commercial kitchen in my 1830s farmhouse. And yet it's unconstitutional in my book. So take a second and put your brain around this one. Can you begin to imagine how many more gardeners, farmers, chefs, fishermen, and bakers would enrich in our local economies with their creativity if only the unconstitutional federal and state shackles were thrown off and we could have a true free market economy? Thank you. Local food and farmers markets are the new tourist destinations, and not just along the coast either. Last week, the Cornucopia Institute, who is one of the largest sort of food freedom fighters in an intellectual way across the country, they released their annual locavore index, and Maine is ranked number 2 in spite of all this idiocy. So their locavore index is based on recent data from multiple sources: farmers markets, community-supported agriculture operations, and food hubs, and the consumer interest level in eating locally sourced foods. When dollars are spent on food produced in a local economy, they are spent at least 2.5 times, and some say even 6 times, inside that community before those dollars move on. When the same dollars are spent in a regional supermarket, most of the money leaves the state with little or no impact. So guess which one's better for the economy? You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that one out. 100 years ago, Maine exported That means we sent out of state 90% of the meat, poultry, eggs, dairy, vegetables, and greens that were raised here. We ate the other 10%. Our fresh, local, unadulterated food went by coastal schooners and railroads south and west to Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and beyond. Today, Maine brings into our state 93% of the food we eat. What's wrong with this picture, folks? This is the definition of food insecurity. So try to envision the increase in jobs, the expansion of local commerce, and the healthy boom of economic development that would spread across our beautiful state if we farmers, fishermen, gardeners, and chefs, and most importantly, all of you, our patrons, could simply exchange the foods of our own choosing as we have for thousands and thousands of years. And then one last comment. On the 28th of January, I was in Concord, Mass, and stopped at the Minutemen statue at Old North Bridge, where the shot heard round the world in 1775 was fired by a farmer. In fact, they were all farmers. The enforcers of a despotic monarch were in their gun sights. Now, 230-odd years later, our out-of-control federal state government has become the worthy target. Government and their corporate handlers have all but eliminated our natural God-given right to the most fundamental of liberties, to raise, grow, prepare, serve, and exchange the foods of our fishing boats, farms, and kitchens with our families, our friends, and our neighbors in private arrangement between consenting individuals. In a Supreme Court decision that goes back to 1905, the Supreme Court stated, "The individual may stand upon his constitutional rights as a citizen. His power to contract is unlimited." Get that word, unlimited? His rights, as such, existed by the law of the land, our common law, long antecedent to the organization of the state. That tells me that I can sell my criminal caramels and my lard and my milk to my neighbors without enforcement coming from flipping anywhere. So, get involved, talk to your farmers and your neighbors about passing a food freedom ordinance in your town. Get the Fed out of our kitchens and off our farms. Thank you.